पिछली क्लासेस में हम लोगों ने फूड सिक्योरिटी एनालिसिस को डिस्कस किया था डिटेल में। आज मैं क्विकली इसको समराइज करने की कोशिश करता हूँ। हम बात करते हैं कि फूड सिक्योरिटी एज एन एकेडमिक इशू, so it was prominent in the 70s. So as we have already discussed that there are more than 190 definitions on the subject matter. The most accepted or acceptable definition is of Food and Agricultural Organization, which states that a quality of the food that is always available, that is all persons have access to, that is nutritionally adequate in terms of quantity, quality and variety, and that it is acceptable within the given culture. Only when all these conditions are in place, a population can be considered as food secure. So if we look around the world situation, there are only two regions which have the most undernourished population: Southern Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. If we talk about the number of undernourished people or the percentage of the undernourished people of the population, in both senses, Southern Asia is at the top. But if we look at the severity of the problem, we can say that Sub-Saharan Africa has more deeper impacts or effects of food insecurity. So I have discussed with you a research or review paper in which we tried to estimate food security, for which we used these keywords, that food security measurement, rural household food security in developing countries, household food security, measuring household food security measurement methods, and we downloaded 300 studies. And from those 300 studies, we reviewed title and the abstracts. The titles and abstracts of all the studies were reviewed. All of 300 studies, 200 were excluded because they did not measure food security empirically. So rest of the 100 studies were reviewed completely, and a total of 25 studies were selected for meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is a review technique. The excluded studies either did not measure food security empirically or were just conceptual. So we applied meta-analysis to identify food security measurement methods and synthesize their advantages and limitations. In the second stage, we collect data from Punjab using stratified sampling technique. You can see that these black lines, which are bold, these are the demarcations for strata. So the upper region is north, lower is south, and the central one is central. This demarcation was based on the characteristics of the areas. For example, plain areas were demarked as central Punjab, desertous or rain-fed areas were south, and certain altitude was given north. A total of 1,152 farming households, farming and non-farming households were interviewed. So results from the stage 1, the measurement methods, out of 25 studies, 10 applied dietary intake assessment, 7 applied food insecurity experience-based measurement scales, 3 applied household expenditure survey method, 3 applied anthropometry, 1 applied rapid rural appraisal, and 1 applied DFO method. Dietary intake assessment carried out using a recall method either 24 hours or 7 days or 30 days. In this method, food frequency questionnaires are used and food consumption is recorded. The advantages include it measures food consumption directly, it addresses both dietary quality and calorie intakes at individual levels, it allows mapping, it helps understand recent and long-term dietary intake patterns, and disadvantages or limitations are it relies heavily upon respondents' memory that will cause measurement errors. It uses adjusted recall estimations which may lead to higher measurement errors. It requires highly trained and experienced researchers to interview the respondents. The second method, food insecurity expenditure experience-based measurement scales, it is based on the perception or experience reported by the respondents. The extent of severity is based on a series of questions, a number of which rely on qualitative and subjective assessments. The advantages include it measures food security directly based on the experiences of the individuals. It captures both psychological, psychosocial, and physical experiences. It can be used for mapping to better understanding the causes and consequences of food insecurity and hunger. It also has some limitations, like it is difficult to generalize them from different cultures globally. It is difficult to establish cut-off points for classifying households into food security levels. It is not suitable to determine eligibility into food assistance programs. No set rules to offset the impacts of question framing, how we ask questions. It has not been properly benchmarked against studies of malnutrition and other types of assessments. The third method was household expenditure survey method. It is a direct method to obtain information on household food expenditures, especially basic and nutritionally adequate food. Different time references are used, that is weeks or months. Its advantages include the flexibility for the vulnerable households identification that allows mapping determinants both at local and national levels. Dietary quality data can help understand various food security dimensions, and it can be used for the evaluation of national food and nutrition programs. The limitations include the measures to available amount of food and ignores the consumed amount at a given time frame. It does not account for the amount of food consumed outside the household when visiting friends, relatives, or cinema, etc. The difference of data collection methods worldwide make it difficult to compare the estimates across countries, regions, and different purchasing power parities. Conversion of available food to the calorie intakes involves major assumptions that can cause measurement errors. Anthropometry uses the measurement of individual human characteristics. The generalized information is collected on the areas of food provisioning, preparation, consumption practices. According to the cultural setting of the study areas, the body size, weight, body proportions, and composition of food, These indicators are commonly used in national surveys that are based on weight and height of infants, young children, young and adults. This method involves in-depth interviews and participants' observations, generally that are done by living in a community for a longer period of time. Its advantages include that the highly standardized measures of weight and height are vastly reproducible across individuals. It is useful to develop quantitative measures to identify the food security indicators. It helps constructing scales of past food supply, current food stores, and adequacy of future food supply. It allows for mapping nutritional security from the local to the national levels. Limitations are it is costly both monetarily and time-wise. The debate about whether the international height weight standards used by the WHO are correctly measuring malnutrition. The next method was rapid rural appraisal. Food security status can be measured by using the rapid rural appraisal. This approach is similar to participatory rural appraisal, but it is more action-oriented. It includes focus groups and in-depth interviews. The information collected through rapid rural appraisal is useful to develop quantitative measures of food security. This can be done through using livelihood security, expert systems, food economy approach, food security ranking, and food-related management and coping strategies. The next method is FAO method, which focuses on the estimation of dietary energy consumption on a per capita basis at the country level. The estimation is done through the food balance sheets used in household income and expenditure surveys. The proportion of undernourished population is defined as that part of distribution lying below a minimum energy requirement level. This minimum calories intake is further adjusted for the gender and age distribution of the country's population, assuming the minimum acceptable body weight for a given height for all gender age groups and activity level of adults. Secondary data are available for most of the countries. Due to frequently updated estimates, it is possible to examine and compare global food security trends at various levels. But the quality of diet is overlooked. It assumes that calorie consumption above minimum calorie threshold indicates food security, hence does not account for the obesity issue. High degree of measurement errors because of the fact that balance sheets provide data on the available amount of calories, not the consumed ones. It does not capture the effects of seasonal or other short-term shortages. FAO's food availability data are not reliable because calorie consumption by income quantiles is based on assumed values of calorie elasticities of income rather than being estimated. Now, we used first two methods to collect data in stage 2 from 3 regions of Punjab. The food security sensitivity using dietary intake assessment and food insecurity measuring scales. So DIA, the definition used was Government of Pakistan, less than 2450 kilocalories per person per day in rural areas. The food insecurity was measured to be about 23%, while FAIMS, the definition was skipping a meal once in 3 months, almost 5% were food insecure. A slight change in the definition, we used FAO's definition that is less than 1770 kilocalories per person per day for Pakistan. The food insecurity level dramatically reduced to 6.5%, and reducing the definition in terms of frequency of skipping a meal once a week, it went down to 1%. So the lessons we have learned from this review and sort of research outcome, that selection of measurement method is very sensitive to food security definition, socio-geographical details of the study area, research budget, scale and scope of the study. So complete measurement of food security cannot be achieved with any single method. A range of information is required on food security experiences, behaviors, and coping strategies. Other important considerations are disaggregation of theoretical modeling. So, in another research paper, I proposed a theoretical model that we have to disaggregate information at various levels. Initially, first level of disaggregation means that no disaggregation of information, macro level data. Second level of disaggregation means categorical disaggregation, regions or households. That is, you cut the data whether horizontally or vertically. Third level disaggregation included categorical disaggregation in regions and households, both horizontally or vertically. So regional sensitivity applied to the latest data, and we found that at different food security measurement scales in two districts, one from north, one from south. So total number of observations are 105 in Rawalpindi and 105 in Multan. And if we see that food insecurity at 50 kilocalories was 20, 23, 14, and overall data 19%. And it went up to 24% with a change in definition. And similarly, the three different stratas of this Rawalpindi district and three different levels of this Multan district. And if we look in Multan at 2350 30% and 2450 31%, which was very slight change. So total we had 24% at 2350 and 28% in 2450. So if we use this regional sensitivity, that the level 3 disaggregation, we'll see that strata 2 in district Rawalpindi and strata 2 in district Multan as well has most number of food insecure households. So the policy should be directed to these stratas, not on all district. So the other important considerations are nutritional security, that is macronutrients. So we had like 210 total data, and in which proteins we had 55% of the population, surveyed population was deficient at 70 grams. Fats 31% at 80 gram. This is the level 1 aggregated data. And carbohydrates at 180 grams, only 6%. So if we look at level 2 in Rawalpindi only, so we will see that in protein 53%, in fats 19%, and in carbohydrates it is almost okay. While in Multan it is 56, 44. So these are the level 3 data. So you will see that in level 3 you will see that in protein strata 2, in fats strata 1. While in Rawalpindi, in Multan, strata 3 and strata 2. And no need to talk about carbohydrate. So we have to focus on only 2. And micronutrients, we had in terms of iron, level 1 data, 76% were deficient and 50% in zinc deficient. In Rawalpindi, 86% were deficient in iron, while 67% were deficient in Multan at 15 milligram definition. Similarly, in zinc, Rawalpindi, we had 50% and in Multan 49%. And at level 3, we'll see that in Rawalpindi, first strata, and in Multan, in iron, first strata, and in zinc, third strata. But overall, if we look at the data, in each strata, we'll have 94, 91, 71. It means that the problem is very severe in both districts. In terms of calcium, the definitions were 1000 milligram, and phosphorus the same definition. Overall, we'll see that 81% were deficient in calcium and 54% were deficient in phosphorus. In Rawalpindi, 86, in Multan 76 in calcium, while 54% and 53% in phosphorus. And if we see the strata wise, we'll see that in Rawalpindi strata 2 and in Multan strata 1 and 2 in phosphorus and strata 2 in calcium. Overall, if we look, the problem is very severe in both the districts. So the other important consideration is defining a food security index. So we have a scale from 0 to 1. 0 means absolute food insecure, 1 means absolute food secure. In Rawalpindi, while 0.25 we can say that severely food insecure, 0.5 moderately food insecure, 0.75 mildly food insecure, or mostly food secure. So in Rawalpindi, if we see that 11% of the respondents were absolutely food insecure, while in Multan it was 17%. And absolutely food secure population of the respondents were 4% in Rawalpindi and 12% in Multan. So this is giving us more ground realistic information. How this food security index was calculated, there are several definitions behind it. One definition was to simply mark 0 or 1 for deficient and non-deficient in all 8 categories of macro and micronutrients. And then make an average. And if we take that average, it gives us these. And from that average, we have to calculate, further estimate these 5 categories. It will range from 0 to 1. And the other category is using multi-dimensional poverty indicators or definition. Apply that definition to food insecurity, and then we will be having a little bit more ground realistic results. The other considerations also include that the composition of food intake, that what is the desired dietary pattern and what is the ground reality. So this is the ground reality at the moment, that 54% of the cereals were of the calorie were coming from cereals, 7% from dairy, 4% from meat, 11% from beverages, and 16% from fats and oils. While in Multan and Rawalpindi, the situation is not that different from the overall data. Now, this is the desired dietary pattern, that about 40% should be from cereals, 10% from fats, 12% from beverages, 10% from fruits and vegetables, 6% from legumes, and 20% from dairy products, meat and eggs. And you can see that people are not getting the desired pattern. So another aspect or consideration of food insecurity must be taken in consideration is utilization or food safety. The first, we measured the perceptions about safety of water. You can see that 26% and 36% people assumed or perceived that they are not using safe water. Overall 32%. And the other one was 98, and all people in Multan, they have never tested their water. So never tested in both regions is 97%. So waterborne diseases, the frequency, 28% responded that they had any one of the member from the households had waterborne diseases during the last 1 week to 4 weeks, and 26% in Multan, and overall 27%. So food safety, the perception was 22% overall that they are not consuming safe food. So now lessons learned from all these information or analysis, that selection of measurement method is sensitive to food security definition, again, socio-geographical details of the study area, research budget, scale and scope of the study, which we already have seen. So complete measurement of food security cannot be achieved with any single method. A range of information is required on experiences, behavior and coping strategies. So this was that. Now mixed method approach is required both qualitatively and quantitatively. So calorie security cannot be complete food security, cannot reflect complete food security. So collaborative studies, that is from social sciences, health sciences and food and nutrition sciences, should be conducted. And that is it. Thank you. And let's have questions if you have. जी, आप लोगों को आवाज आ रही थी?
यस सर, आवाज आ रही थी, क्लियर भी हो गया।
हाँ जी, अब मेरा ख्याल है कि ये चीज़ें हमने